This video is sponsored by and available on ProtoPlay, an alternative video hosting platform focusing on creative freedom for both content creators and viewers alike. Check it out with the link in the description below, or feel free to grab the app found on Apple and Android devices. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to our latest episode of Combat Tips. Today's episode is going to be featuring the Outworld blood magician known as Skarlet. As per usual, if there's anything in particular you've come here to learn today, feel free to hop on down below to either the description, the timeline, or the comments where you can find timestamps that will let you skip to anything I feature in today's video. And should there be any inputs or commands that don't entirely make sense to your particular console, feel free to use this conversion guide right here, and that will allow you to convert whatever I say in today's video onto any platform currently hosting Mortal Kombat 11. So let's pop right on over to the cosmetic screen today, folks, and that is to show you that as of this video's creation, I have all 25 out of 25 finishers for Skarlet, which means today's video is going to be featuring 11 different brutalities. If you know these videos by now, then of course you know we'll be starting off with the Classic today, but again, if there's any particular brutality you've come here to learn, hop on down to the timestamps below, and they should get you where you gotta go. Let's get started. So let's hop right into it, folks, the Classic. If you're going to perform this brutality, there's a couple things you're going to want to pay attention to. First off, you want to make sure that you do not block an attack during the final round. And to clarify, the final round is whichever round you as a player are going to be victorious on. So that can be rounds 2 or 3, just whichever one you are going to be winning on. Next up, you want to make sure that when you finish your opponent, you finish them with an uppercut, and while that's happening, hold either Y or triangle on your respective controller. Let's hop into it. So an uppercut, down Y, or down triangle, very classic move, just as the brutality suggests. There we have it, folks. So here we are on round 2, and this is going to be my victorious round, but something I always like to clarify with the Classic is should you be like me and maybe kind of just happen to, boom, reflexively hit the block button, that's alright so long as you don't take any damage. Alright, so just keep that in mind. Should you hit it by accident, as long as you don't take damage, you can still do this brutality. So let's move in for that final strike. Remember, do not block any damage on your particular final round. Mine's going to be round 2, but yours could be round 3. And then last, but certainly not least, you want to finish your opponent with that uppercut while holding either Y or triangle, respectively. Let's go for it. Got it, folks. There's the Classic. Nothing too crazy about this one. It's your good old uppercut strike. I know in the last video we did with the Terminator, he actually had that one where the shotgun would kind of give a slightly different animation, so always just keeping an eye out for that when maybe they switch it up a little bit. On to the next one. So next up is the bottom out brutality, and this one will require that during your final round you perform at least 3 throws. And again, to clarify, the final round can be rounds 2 or 3, just whichever one you will be victorious on. Next up, you want to make sure that you actually finish your opponent with a towards throw, and while that towards throw is happening, hold L1 or left button. Let's go for it. So for a general towards throw, you of course want to be moving towards the opponent, and you can push L1 or left button, and as you can see, we should get our towards throw animation. The same goes for arcade style players. If you want to push square and X or X and A at the same time while moving towards your opponent, boom, you will still of course get a towards throw. So here we are on round 2, and this is of course going to be my final round, but let's go ahead and go for those 3 throws and get the criteria out of the way. Here's one. That's a towards throw. Let's go for a back throw here. You can mix it up with this particular part if you want. And again, another towards throw. Boom. And boom. And also, to further note, if you want with this brutality, you can make that 3rd throw in the final round the actual killing blow as well. So let's put an end to this, folks. Remember that during your final round, you must perform at least 3 throws. Feel free to make that 3rd throw the actual killing blow if you desire. And last but certainly not least, make sure to finish your opponent with a towards throw while holding L1 or left button. Let's go for it, folks. Oh. Straight gutted. And I love the way she uses those just tentacles to kind of hold them in place. It just something about being restricted and unable to move while being violently attacked is just Very uncomfortable. So next up we have the Melted Brutality, and this one is going to require that you finish your opponent with the Blood Ball from a great distance away, and while that is happening, make sure to hold either Y or triangle. Let's hop in right now for an example. So the Blood Ball by itself is going to be down back Y or down back triangle, and as you can see, splash. Now when it comes to clarifying a great distance away, if you ask me, that's going to be at least 3 back dashes, alright? So back back, back back, and back back 3 times, and there we are. That should be a great distance away, if you ask me. So let's end this, folks. Remember to finish your opponent with that Blood Ball from a great distance away and hold either Y or triangle during that animation. Let's go for it. Definitely not what I expected, but it is, I don't know, that just really didn't look like a comfortable way to go. It looked like the flesh and everything inside of it was boiling to the point of eruption. I don't know, something very painful about that if you ask me. So next up we have the Not Dead Yet Brutality, and this will require that you have the Red Mist ability in your arsenal, so please do make sure you've got that set up, and we can move on. So once all that's set up and you're ready to move in for that finishing blow, you're going to want to make sure you activate the Red Mist aura around your character, and then, last but certainly not least, finish them with the Amplified Blood Trail. Let's hop into it. So let's start off with the Red Mist. That's going to be down back B or down back circle, and as you can see, boom, you'll get kind of a red aura around your character, and if you move towards opponents, you'll slowly chip away their health. So next is going to be the Blood Trail, and that's going to be down back A or down back X, and as you can see, there it is. Now for this finisher, of course, we want to be using the amplified version of Blood Trail, so after you've hit down back A or down back X, make sure to tap R1 or right button just as you're hitting the ground, and you should be able to enhance it like so. So let's put an end to this one, folks. Remember, you want to activate your Red Mist, and while that aura is going, use the Amplified Blood Trail to finish your opponent. Let's go for it. Aura, Amplified Blood Trail. Oh. Something about that reminds me of the horror movie The Blob, and how it just kind of melted and consumed whatever it touched, including, of course, human flesh. I don't know. That one isn't necessarily as graphic as some of the others, but just kind of, again, the idea of having your leg consumed by a viscous fluid so rapidly. So next up we have the Feeding Time Brutality. Now this one's going to ask that you use the Blood Tentacle 5 times. Just use, it doesn't have to necessarily hit. And last but certainly not least, finish your opponent with yet another Blood Tentacle. Let's move in. So the Blood Tentacle should be down back B or down back circle, and as you can see, swap. Now, like a good handful of moves in this game, you can manipulate the direction should you choose. So again, we'll just do a normal down back B or down back circle, and that is about medium distance if you ask me. And then if you choose to push backwards or forwards after that input, we'll do backwards first. You can see it is closer, and if we do forwards, further. So just for people's clarification, let's make sure we display the 5 tentacle strikes, and again, they don't necessarily have to hit, so we'll do 1, we'll do 2, we'll do 3, we'll do 4, and there is 5. So let's put another one to rest, folks. Remember, just use the Blood Tentacle 5 times at any point throughout the match, and last but certainly not least, remember to finish your opponent with yet another Blood Tentacle. Here we go. Oh. Something very cartoony and comedic about that one. I don't know, just being squeezed so hard that your head pops right off just like that. It almost reminds me a little bit of the Shao Kahn one where he hugs them to death, but I digress. On to the next one. So next up is the Purge Brutality. Now this will require that you have the Retribution ability in your arsenal, so of course have that good to go, and we can move on. So for this brutality, you will have to perform a mercy at some point throughout the match. If you don't know what that is, I will give you an example in just a moment, but once that's out of the way, you want to make sure that you finish your opponent with the Retribution ability, and that should do it. So for the Retribution, you're going to want to use back forward B or back forward circle, and as you can see, oof, our retribution. This is yet another one that you can manipulate the direction of. So again, after you do back forward B or back forward circle, feel free to push backwards or forwards to kind of manipulate the direction. Again, you can make it closer or much further. Oof. So let's go over the Mercy. There's 3 main steps I follow when performing one. The first step is simply to beat your opponent onto the finish him screen. Easy. Step 2, once your opponent is on that finish him screen, you want to get to about medium distance. If you ask me, that should be good about right there. However, if you need a quick way to gauge it in the heat of a fight, you can do 2 backdashes away from your opponent. 1, 2, and that should be about medium distance. Step 3, once at medium distance, you're going to want to hold the flip stance button. That's L2 or left trigger, usually the one that makes you dance. While that's held down, push down 3 times very quickly, 1, 2, 3, and then immediately let go of the flip stance button. So here's a live demonstration of what that Mercy should look like, folks. We want to get our opponent into the finish him screen, get to medium distance, hold our flip stance, 1, 2, 3, and then let go as soon as you are done pushing that down 3 times. And with that Mercy out of the way, we can move in for our final retribution. Let's go for it, folks. Oh, so gross, but it gets worse. Oh, so worse. Ugh. Never thought I'd say it, but poor Devora. So next up is the beautiful Blood Brutality, and this will require that you have the Red Rain ability in your arsenal, so please do make sure that's good to go. Once that's all set up, you want to make sure that when you go in for your final strike, you activate the Red Rain ability, and then finish your opponent with that simple slaughter combo. So let's start off with the Red Rain, and that should be a down down Y or down down triangle, and as you can see, once that's dripping from the sky, your damage will be increased, and if your opponent steps in it, their damage will be decreased. Next is the simple slaughter combo, and that's going to be back A and then B, or back X and then circle. And it should look, oof, just like that, folks. So let's move in for that final strike, folks. Remember, just get that Red Rain activated, and while it's falling from the sky, hit him with that simple slaughter combo. Let's go for it. Active Rain. Oof. And an even more active combo. Next up is the Bubbling Up Brutality, and this one of course is going to require the Boiling Point ability, so naturally make sure you've got that set up and we can move on. Once that's good to go, you want to make sure first off, very first thing, that you get the first hit in the match. If you don't do that, you don't get this brutality to go off. Once you have accomplished that though, all you got to do is make sure you finish your opponent down the line with that Boiling Point ability and hold either B or circle during that final animation. Let's move in for it. So again, you want to make sure you get the first hit in this match, and to clarify whether or not you do, as you can see, once I hit the opponent here, boom, first hit props. If you see that on your side of the screen, you're good to go. So for this Boiling Point ability, you're going to want to use back forward circle or back forward B, and it should look like, oof, that right there, folks. Yet another ability that can have its direction manipulated if you choose. Remember, back forward B or back forward circle, and that should do a medium length one, but if you push back or forward after that input, you can of course bring it closer or send it out further. Time to boil this bug, folks. Remember, you want to get the first hit in the match if you're going to go for this brutality, and once that's out of the way, finish your opponent with that Boiling Point ability and hold B or circle during that animation. Let's go for it. That's an awesome one. So next up is the Gushing Garrote ability, and this will require that you have the dagger dance set up and ready to go. Please make sure you do that, and we can move on. As for the criteria, very straightforward. You simply want to finish your opponent with an amplified dagger dance. Let's hop into our example. So the dagger dance is going to be down back X or down back square, and as you can see, boom, boom, not much, and that's because this is a parry, so of course we need the opponent to hit us. You can actually hold square or X as well to prolong the stance like so, and that can also help you set up to get that parry. So here's an active example. Remember, just get into your stance, the opponent should come up to you, whack you, oof, and as you can see, you will get quite a parry on them. Now we of course want the amplified version of this dagger dance, so just after Skarlet teleports behind the opponent and stabs him in the back, make sure to hit R1 or right button, and as you can see, we should get an enhanced version of that beautiful dagger dance. So let's end this, folks. Simply put, just finish your opponent with an amplified dagger dance as we've displayed earlier, and that's all there is to it. Let's go for it. Enhancing. Oh. This is a move that is often in my Skarlet arsenal. I love parries, and the fact that you can just get off such a violent counter on the opponent like this, a brutality on top of that parry, I love it. It's just the ultimate punishment, if you ask me. Very well done. So next up we have the It's a Gusher brutality. Now this one's going to require that you finish your opponent with the Marrow Massacre combo, and while that's happening, hold backwards. Let's go for it. So the Marrow Massacre combo is going to be X, Y, B, or square, triangle, circle, and it should look oof, just like that, folks. And that's really all there is to it, folks. Just finish your opponent with that Marrow Massacre and hold backwards while you're doing it. Let's go for it. Just love the quick, clean cut and the way that upper torso just goes flying. Works better when you're not up against the wall, otherwise it kind of just splotches right up against the bottom. Though, who knows, maybe that's something you prefer. But that all said, on to the next one. So our last brutality for today, folks, is called Just a Prick, and it will require that you finish your opponent with a back throw, and while that animation is happening, they say to push backwards at least 3 times, but if you ask me, just spam backwards during that final animation. Best way to guarantee brutalities like this work. Let's move on. So a back throw, folks, super simple. Simply tap L1 or left button without any other inputs, and as you can see, boom, that's our back throw right there. Same goes for arcade-style inputs, square and X at the same time, or X and A at the same time, and again, no directions required, back throw. So let's wrap up our final brutality for today, folks. Remember, just finish your opponent with a back throw, push backwards at least 3 times, or as I suggest, spam the hell out of that back button. Let's go for it. Back throw, spamming back. Again, another quick, straight to the point one. And I just, again, they did a really good way at kind of making it flow with a normal animation. Normally the whole torso would go over, as I remember. This time, just the head for quite a splattering finish. So that's, of course, going to do it for today, folks. If you ask me, Skarlet was an awesome addition to the MK11 roster. I love how she has a solid mix of get-up-in-your-face moves, but also a lot of ranged kind of zoning abilities. It's really up to you based on the way you set her up, and that's something I've enjoyed about her as a character. As I said earlier, that dagger dance, one of my favorite moves. I just love parries. As you may have noticed at the start of this video, folks, this video is sponsored by ProtoPlay, so if you'd like to do both me and them a giant favor, simply go check out my channel over on their website. Shouldn't cost anything but a little bit of your time, but we both would appreciate the world out of it. Thank you so much. And of course, folks, if you liked or disliked what you saw here today, feel free to reflect that down below in the form of a like, a dislike, or a comment, and let me know what you thought and what you might want to see in a future video. If you're new to the channel but want to see more, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can find out exactly when more tutorials like this go live. I guess that's all I've got to say for today, folks, but as always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate your company, whether you be a new or old viewer alike. It all means a lot to me and the growth of this channel, which has actually been phenomenal in the last couple months. So just thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we will catch you guys on the next episode. But until then, stay safe and stay happy. Adios, everybody.